And it will be... Da-da-dum. Ooh, Sky Temple, as we descend into the sands here.
There have been some interesting plays, or drafts rather, from Method on Sky Temple in the past. I believe we have seen some Samuro play there.
Right.
I even believe that they, like our Heroes Hearth team, have been willing to draft a solo Abathur support composition and played it with that Samuro. So I'm very excited to see what we get in this draft too.
Your thoughts, Kaldor?
I agree with that. No, I mean, like, a lot of teams have actually hinted that they're willing to play some unorthodox strategies.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's always a question if they're actually going to follow through with that, because in the past, I mean, it's always like, yeah, when it fits. So Sky Temple has been one of the maps where we have seen a lot of variation. You've been talking about Samuro a little bit, but let's not forget this was also the fast food map where Fnatic last year at MSB picked Chen and played that double support Chen style, where they just walked through a lane and got a boss. I think it was 6 minutes into the game or something.
Ah, the focus on bot lane, it was perfect, actually.
Exactly,
yeah,
that setup that also was successful for them when they played in the grand final against Dignitas. So. And even before that, the year before at MSB, we saw Team Liquid back then playing with Morales and just trying to snipe keeps in the backline when they used it against the Koreans. So Sky Temple has always been a map for fancy strategies, and I wouldn't mind if one comes out here. All
right, time to get draft number 2 on the way here. At the moment, C is trailing with that 1-0 lead to Method, and we're going to be on Sky Temple, Skimmy.
There we are indeed. I want to see try and draft something quite aggressive here to look to achieve a early game lead. We've seen a lot of teams, especially across the world, that if they can achieve a strong enough lead that they can hit level 10 first, they can go for a very aggressive boss. And then from that alone, the temples themselves are finding far more value than they would otherwise, and put you in a much more commanding position, and they really looked to sort of show us on Tales of Doom.
I mean, let's not forget this is also a map where globals have reigned supreme in the past. We talked Dehaka, we talked Falstad. Fnatic was very known for that, for synergizing well around those heroes, even dropping a Brightwing into the equation.
Gilly?
Well, seeing that Genji ban, that is a high priority Method choice on Sky, so it makes me think that they're going to try to get Tracer. I'm just worried that if they... It's hard because if you get Tracer here, then you get synergies taken away from her in 1-2 of Method, but then if they pick something like the Malfurion instead, Method just might pick it anyway, so I don't think it's a guarantee for them, but I do like that CE are trying to change up who they prioritize in the draft regardless.
Do you think there's going to be a moment here for Method where they look at game number 1 and they're like, actually, we dominated that so much that they can potentially hide things moving forwards, do something a bit more, I don't want to say casual, but just kind of something a bit more off-meta in this game? What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree. I'd rather see that on the second map than the first map. First, feel your opponent out a little bit and see how far you can go with your strategies. And then if you feel that you are playing on a different level and you're feeling you play on a comfortable map, you can fall back into a bit of an older meta, for example, into older picks, and might not have to show everything here. But so far, we're having CE starting things off with an early Garrosh again. So the win pretty much, once again, relying on that hero. I mean, for good reason, he is strong on him. But on the last map, he was under a lot of pressure and could never really unfold that danger that Garrosh oftentimes poses to an opponent's team.
I feel like I'm a little bit conflicted about what Method's game plan is for game number 2. We discussed the performance at the Western Clash and how they really need to sort of showcase what they can do in a situation like this, and we sort of saw what Fnatic were able to achieve, knowing that they do have a lot of pressure off them now with the roster swaps. But they're going to come out here with a Dehaka and the Abathur. You talked about it before, it's double globals, the map for it. I mean, it wouldn't be put past us to see a solo support as the Abathur.
They've played a lot of Falstad on this map too, but that might be going too far down the global train, I don't know.
I mean, a lot of that stuff. I mean, the Abathur strategy with Abathur as a solo support first came into play from Dignitas when they played it. And then we had it also reflected in North America, as Billy said earlier. So they could play along that. We have seen also Samuro with Abathur on the map, and that can even lead you to just simply sniping forts, keeps, and even in the core, which was the case in that one game that they played. So those are all things that Method could definitely now throw out at this point.
Abathur's also the only remaining mule left in the game, and in a battleground where you need to be getting value out of the objectives to take down structures and keep you in league with your opponents, they have a lot of lane control already with the Dehaka too, and then having the Abathur can keep their structures healed up. I'm expecting to see Method have some calculated aggression around that to keep their structures alive.
Yeah, with them also going for globals, I mean, there could even be a false that feel there, maybe with one of those clever auto attack builds that we oftentimes see.
So clever.
Yeah. Did you know that Abathur is actually the last hero that has Mule?
Yes, I just said that.
Did you say that?
Yep.
No, thanks, Carlo.
It's so
thanks for the
important.
reinforcement.
It's so
I
important.
wanted to point it out again.
Yeah.
Repetition is important. That's what
She
Heist
went
taught me.
deeper than me, and she actually said, like, she explained why. But I just want to highlight the fact that
It is.
Did you know Malfurion lost Mule a while ago?
Tell me more about it.
That's an earlier thrall than I was expecting, to be fair. Any thoughts?
I'm just trying to wonder really what the sort of strategy is. Once again, I think the Dahaka, as Gilly mentioned in Tales of Doom, was pretty influential for the fact that we know that C like to go for these fights. They like to try and contest anything possible. And Dahaka, especially with Ethereum, is able to rotate in whenever needed to try and prevent or sort of even out the scales. I feel like C have kind of channeled themselves down the path of we have to get a fantastic team comp. Maybe that's going to be centered around boss control, or maybe that's just going to be centered around just skirmishing potential. But right now, Method are having none of that.
Haldor, do you think it's going to be the solo support Abathur?
Absolutely honest, I have no clue. I feel at this point they can really throw out that Samuro style again, even though they already have an Dehaka, which usually ends up in Ethereal's hands. But I feel after the way the first game went, they are willing to throw something a little bit more unorthodox out there, and that opens up really a whole can of worms where they could just like play anything. So the solo support Abathur is an option. Picking a Samuro and playing around that while they already have a Dehaka, I wouldn't put that past them either. At this point, I don't really know what to expect from Method, to be absolutely honest with you.
Is the Cassia ban intriguing, or are they just doing it because they're against China?
One of two. I want to say if we are going down that solo support avenue of an Abathur, then you're looking at picks such as Greymane, such as Blaze and Zeratul, heroes that all have the ability just to be fantastic hat targets, and obviously Cassie would shut that down considerably. So maybe a telegraph as to what Method's idea is.
Is it? Okay.
Triple gold.
Burning Falstad.
Yeah,
So they do get their Falstad back. I almost, when I see a Cassia ban like that out of nowhere, I think Illidan. But if there was any team that I would expect to bring Illidan out, it would be a Chinese team. They're still playing him.
Imagine that fitting into this comp and just having Hunt as well.
I mean, to be fair, Method played Illidan 3 times in the season.
Oh,
so
yeah?
They have 1 victory and 2 losses. So, yeah, they are the European team that played the most Illidan in 2018.
Could they pull it off with the flexibility of players? Obviously, they have very flexible players, but already having the Dahaka here?
I mean, they still could. If anything, I would have expected the Samuro play to come out again, because it's always one argument they can make that when Sapporo came into the meta in Europe, it was basically just surprising a lot of teams, and they had to adapt to play against Samuro. And at the beginning, he was therefore a bit more successful. If you feel that a Chinese team doesn't know how to deal with the hero properly, then you could pull it out. So that's why I would have expected him more than Illidan, just because you could bank your hopes on the surprise factor.
I think with the Falstad, I'm going to check out something I've seen from a lot of European streams as well, was that the Europeans seem to be really liking the W build now. But that's just completely cut my point off.
Here we go.
It's Valera time, and Valera, not only Valera time, it's Valera Abathur time.
Well, we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, that we were hearing murmurs about, Ariel and Vala coming out from some of the regions. We heard other murmurs, something that did revolve around said hero.
I mean, to be honest, there's a lot of solo laners that have started to crank out a lot of games in Hero League on Valera. That's not really a secret. So that was always like hovering there. Is that going to be something that we might see reflected at the Mid-Season Brawl? And now we have Valera played. And that together with an Abathur, that's a lot of burst damage potential that you have there to snipe one of those backliners.
I'm fearful for the Garrosh too. Having a Gust to isolate him away after the Valera combo comes in, one of the things we heard was how much Valera can put pressure even on a frontliner tank. And for Win to be out looking for those combos and then have the Gust away and then the follow-up CC after that, I think he's going to have a rough time.
Sticking with predictions, let's go, Gilly.
Because of all of the things I just said, we're going to go with Method.
Okay.
I say Method as well. First game was dominant. I think they feel very, very confident into this. And even without the support with running Abathur as the main solo support, I think they can pull it off. They definitely come in with a game plan here.
Yeah, I think the draft speaks volumes about the confidence, and it's not going to give away too much. Valera, okay, it is that surprise wow factor. It's similar to what I was alluding to before about the Zeratul, a fantastic hat target, but we're actually going to get to see really how strong the Rogue Master is herself.
Gonna have to go the same as well. Looks like we're gonna be Method across the board again here. After what we've kind of discussed, and even with, you know, teams, players, everything about this Valera pick, it looks extremely strong. And it looks like Twitch chat right now is gonna be agreeing with said sentiments, as 81% there in favor of Method going into game number 2. So we can check in with the casters as well here to get this going. Gentlemen, Valera, excited?
I'm ecstatic. I will say I've heard with the rumors and a lot of theory crafting going on for a long while, and I feel like with the Abathur hat on top of it, it's going to be one deadly rogue.
I'm very excited as well, just given the rumors, the solo queue stuff that we've been hearing about, right? But at the same time, a little bit skeptical as well, just simply because I haven't quite seen this executed in a pro match before. So
it's like,
I'm not sure about it.
You hit me with the Valera, I say maybe. You hit me with the Valera solo Abby, and I go, nah, not today. It's gotten a little too wild.
All right, dashing gentleman, you take it away.
And on a serious note, I actually feel like I'm a huge fan of this. Specifically on maps like Sky Temple, I feel like they can get away with it here. But Method, they've been known to bust out that wild strategy, and we'll see if they can, you know, bring the fight like they did over the last game here to CE.
We're going to introduce these players from CE. Wind again on the Garage, 365 once more on Malfurion. Zuyu on the Thrall, KTY this time on Junkrat, and Lufu bringing up the Greymane to round out the roster.
Method bringing out a flavor of their own here in the red, already up one game. We're going to have Dahaka played by Schwimpy. Curson will be on the Abathur, Arcaner on the Muradin. Nick will be playing Falstad, and Valera played by Athero Angel.
So you've got three globals, excuse me, with this composition.
Yeah.
you know, since that Abathur is technically a global, not as much of a global pusher per se as the others, but still can be. Very much a game where Method is going to try to stay ahead early, look for picks with Valera.
Yeah.
But it's very risky. If the game falls away from you early on and you end up losing out in structures, I think you're going to have a hard time catching up.
Yeah, I think that is a very, very fair assessment when it comes to this composition, how it can unfold. Another thing to look at here is because of the, you know, triple global, if you will, and the essentially the lack of, you know, global presence needed, or at least heroes making the rotations. This composition, Abathur is amazing as a solo support. Hold on, Athero may be out a little bit too far.
Ooh,
nice
close call
there.
Yeah, that might have been death.
Yeah, that was a very good job there. But Abathur does amazing at supporting in small skirmishes, right? And if you have a Falstad to off-soak one lane, Abathur can do that in the downtime whenever him and Dahaka can't make that happen. And Muradin Valera is amazing at making those small skirmishes. So suddenly, if they're dancing around and breaking up, splitting up the members of CE, and they aren't deathballing, they're going to have a bad time.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be a really big challenge to keep up with everything, and I think that CE was wise to try to look for that pick that we just saw, so already kind of getting a grasp on at least trying to set up one lane to be a success. They fail, of course, with the dodge coming through there from Athero, but you know, opportunities like that, when they see them, they need to take them, but they cannot be leaving members alone like this. They're going to try to turn this around, though. There's the follow-up stun, and this time they will take Athero out. So first blood goes over to CE. Method needs to make sure they can maintain soak during the downtime here so they don't fall behind. Otherwise, this is going to be a game that could run away from them.
Yeah, really good response time as well from 365 to ensure that that route was not, you know, kind of dodgeable there with the dash once again from Athero Angel. Macro pressure on the bottom half for Method. And one pick isn't enough to make this composition fall apart, but absolutely any momentum going over to CE in the early game feels kind of awkward on all the reasons that we talked about before. This composition is not nearly as forgiving as most.
Not really. Shippy is going to go ahead and look for the flank here. Unfortunately, another stun this time going on to Arcader. The stuns, though, coming down here onto Aluful. He's very low. Will get out. But all the while, Junkrat is soaking. He was soaking bot. He was soaking mid. Abathur's just now gone down bottom. So Method losing out a little bit of soak here. They did turn this situation that was pretty rough for them with the Night Camp pushing into a decent one. They're out looking for another pick. It's Wind again. Armor can only do so much. Does get away, but yeah, they've got to be careful about maintaining the soak when they're not getting these kills.
Got ourselves the very first shrine phase here between mid and top. A lot of control around the eye, and when I was talking about the skirmishes, right? More often than not, this first shrine phase, you see the 4-1 split or a 3-2 split, and that is where Method, if they end up isolating whatsoever, it's likely for them to be able to get a kill. But with Wind on that Garrosh, you know, as long as he's not nearly as timid as we saw in the last game, it feels like they have what it takes. Schwimpy able to find a drag onto Aluful. The Groundbreaker is enough.
Yeah, Aluful just barely gets out there. Nick unable to get that last shot there, and so he does escape, so ends up being a trade here with the healing well still intact. Not the end of the world here for CE. Alter's being traded at the moment. Here's one of those skirmishes you were talking about. Silence comes through, Nick flying up here, and this time there's no escape. This time Shuyu goes down. And they just have this ability to instantly collapse on someone who's overextended when you have the ability to fly up, hat somebody, and then Valera, very difficult to keep track of, comes in, drops the silence, and you've got no ability options, you've got no out. And Method will pick up another kill here, tying the score 1-1.
And I feel like those circumstances are only going to be kind of increasing. Hold up, nice brush shot coming out from Schwimpy after the follow-up Stormbolt. Wind ends up getting the flip out and is able to survive. But there will be a couple, shots here as a prize for the members of Method in their rotation.
Oh yeah, and he's got a Hearth Home that's practically a death at this point with the death timers being this short. Has to go home, heal up, and then return to lane means that Method can continue to spread out, grab that soak. And with these globals, you have this global gank potential where you have the hat, you have the brush stock, and the flight. And again, executed very well. Wind gonna grab first, but is gonna get pulled right afterwards. Has that armor. The Greymane rotation in here, I don't think they will be able to steal this Siege Giant camp away. Quick rotation in.
Nature's Cure was used, so if they reinitiate, the double crowd control is going to gain a lot of CC on the side of Method and likely to net a kill as well.
You do have them looking to come in again. Arcane are leading the charge on this. A little bit of a Noblesse invade here, trying to scare CE away from this camp. It's such a terrifying comp to fight against when Wind starts taking damage and can't really peel anymore. They're really committing really heavily right now into this. They do get the grab here, and this could be the end of Wind. He's silenced, and he's dead.
That's one of those situations that I feel like the members of CE for how long? Oh, nice knockback there onto the concussion mine. Second one. Third time's a charm, maybe? Nice drag back from Schwimpy saying, maybe you sent this Dahaka a little bit too close to home.
Yeah, that was, it was a good idea in theory, but really quick thinking there by Schwimpy to turn that around. And now suddenly Method find themselves massively ahead in structures. They're going to have that lead to 10. They've got camp control right now, which is forcing KTY, of course, to stay away from lane, for allowing Schwimpy to prep the wave here for those Siege Giants to do further damage down here to this bot lane, which will eventually inevitably get them level 10. Those positioning of a Thero Angel as well, making sure that no night camp can be taken. Very impressive stuff here on the side of Method. Very well practiced composition, clearly.
And so we talked about some of the trade-offs of this composition if it falls behind on the side of Method, but there's something else to be looking at, and that is when it's this far ahead, it wins harder than a lot of compositions do over this mid-game window.
Look at this. Look at this pick.
Yeah.
You have the Abathur hat. Athero's waiting for this. And, Dread can't even make his point faster than the Method's grabbing kills to get the Gust.
And to be honest, I don't think it's going to stop. Again, because the momentum is now into their favor, the lead is big enough that the dismantling of positioning I was talking about before is going to be possible. Because Method is now not only ridding of forts, but they're enabling kind of hyper-mobility situations like we see Athero looking up here on the top half, even getting that brush talk out from Schwimpy.
Oh, he's going!
Execute.
Oh, he's going to get him too, I think.
Oh,
Loophole barely gets out. Now Thero's in trouble, dodges the Moonfire.
Into the fray.
Gets the stun, trying to get his way out here, but he is rooted. He will be taken out, but it's worth it. Nearly taking a Loophole with him. But yeah, I mean, this has been fantastic control of the map. This is the kind of composition that I wouldn't call a cheese, but it's a new strategy that's emerging. I don't even know if it's fully figured out yet, but it's unfortunate for CE that in this series, they're going to be the first victims of this strategy that's not yet really public, it's not yet really known. And Method is really putting on a clinic here.
Yeah, and able to pick up the first fort for themselves on bottom after all those shots. We've been so excited about the action on top. Murden the whole while bottom was like, all right, I'll take free shots. And now that puts a huge structural advantage on the side of Method, not even to consider the fact that, like we're reminded so frequently on the analyst desk, that Mule is only available on Abathur and is going to be a problem throughout this game.
Yeah, it certainly will be. Gust is available. And that means that Method, if they can get a good fight here, probably look for a boss play, but we're not there yet. They're going to use the Gust for disengage for Schwimpy right now. Great burrow timing there, but he is found by the mine. Will get stun chained there, even using the isolation to hope to escape. Not going to be lucky. Abathur hat here, not enough to save Nick, who does end up getting sundered there. So great turn for CE, and it will be them, actually, who get the first boss potential.
Method need to tread lightly. They did not gain enough over that window with Valera making the hyphy play over the top left and getting isolated picks. Yeah, Murden got the shots, but this composition is supposed to win on multiple fronts at all points in time with that big of a lead. Then, struggling over that last skirmish by the play of CE, this is suddenly finding itself back into a position where you go, with this image when it goes, what does a perfect minimap look like at this point in time? This is very much kind of not the case. Not only the minimap, but again, the experience creeping back up on him by CE. I would still give this over to Method, but I feel like that was, you know, a couple of kills that actually meant a lot more than it looks at first glance.
It was really good execution by CE to make it all happen as well, just punishing the aggressive style of Method. Valeera's not really a split-pushing hero with this solo support Abathur, like some of the heroes that were mentioned earlier in the draft, like Samuro could be. So she goes up top and is shut down by the Junkrat. She looks for the kill though, and Abathur does grant it there, so Athera is able to pick up the kill. That's huge. They still have to deal with this boss, but I think they're getting a lot from this now because they have the push mid, and Valeera gets that top pick.
Yeah, one thing to consider, again, is going to be that unless the structures are 5-man committed to, hold up, Athero finds the isolation at 1. Gonna go ahead and stealth out. Curson gets the flight in there on that Abathur clone.
Oh man, huge hammering there from Curson as well. Sundering to try to disengage.
Trying to barrel roll in full commit there, and they're not going to be able to pick this up for themselves. But unless that bottom structure is committed to all the way on the side of CE, they go, thank you for the wasted time in the rotation. Now, look at the trade-off there. As long as this doesn't go down, CE started at a full fort and with the boss and pushing and everything like. Method started sieging on mid. Method got the fort. Look at bottom. That's going to get built back up. So if you look at Method, they go, that was according to plan. Thank you for the advantage structurally. And they're going to continue this, again, it's kind of snowball.
It's almost the perfect storm of things with this composition where you have all the answers. You have the ability to push top to force reaction, kill the person who's trying to deny your push. You have the mule to keep your bottom fort alive. And who would have thought a comp like this could ever exist? You know, sometimes we get deep into the lab, you get deep into experimentation, sometimes you can find things like this that end up working out. And, I never thought I'd be casting a game where Valeera looks terrifying as a roaming ganker with Abathur as solo support, but this is a comp that is working. CE is struggling. They finally get their first structure of the game, but Method still has ultimate control over the map.
I agree. It feels like, as we see Athero almost one-shot another rotation there with an Abathur hat. In the sense of some comps you got to go into the think tank a little bit, to kind of be able to bust it out there. But it feels like this is one where you got stuck in it for a week. Nobody let you out, maybe didn't give you a meal, and this is what you came up with. And you're like, is this real? Is this actually going to function? And it's one of the few, the proud, that seems to be holding true here so far.
A little bit late was the concussive mine this time to shut down this camp. At least they're able to snag that wizard, make it a little bit less annoying to deal with. Tough to really get further push done here now, though, for Method. With the Falstad, he's prepping the camps, he's prepping the waves, but he's not going to be looking for keeps, not just yet. But you and I were talking about this a little bit in the draft, of course, off camera, about how when you get ahead with a composition like this, you could just trade shrines. So now Method could take somewhat of a more defensive stance here, because not only can they trade because they're ahead in structures, but they also have that mule you were talking about, so they don't have to be hyper-aggressive. Looking for a pick here, though.
Get a lot of damage on the Wind, end up getting the Warlord's challenge flip over. The Twilight Dream drops, but Wind is first to die. They're into the fight. Sundering, Gust with a nice disengage. Camp is picked up and kind of left there. CE is going to make the rotation back. Will Arcane or Dwarf Toss? I don't know if it was off a cooldown there, but they do end up holding for a moment. But look at Thrall.
He's the target.
Oh my.
Rotation in.
Don't blink.
Silence comes through, and there's just no way out of this one. Even Nick comes up, body blocks there, and that's another kill.
I'll be honest, he lasted a lot longer than I thought he would. I thought that would be, here's a Thrall, and here he isn't. That camp up on the top, though, going to be pressured out.
It's just been really fantastic to watch this kind of execution of a well-practiced strategy. And we're only in day 1 of our group stage, and some of these strategies like this get held to later, but this goes back into what Caldor was saying, on the desk about how Method is hungry, they want to prove themselves, they're busting out all the stops at the beginning. Wind, again, the target here. He's the first to show his face, does drop the challenge, is taken out. And Method just has full control. Now they're getting into range to push down this keep.
We got 7 seconds before those shots are up, which will be threatening the keep if Arcaner is not able to secure this here with the rest of Method. 25 seconds out until Wind is looking to join in, and Junkrat still showing for a small, little bit of time on the top half. Athero goes in, combo, just to zone off of the keep. Keep will be secured here for Method.
Nearly gets the kill instantly as well. Arcaner going to easily just tank this Riptire. Curson's a clone, so he's just denying everyone on the chase. And now full macro control, basically permanent macro control to Method. As they rotate back with the rotation over here of CE easily spotted out with these mines being placed here now as well. It's just so difficult for CE to even rotate down to deal with the Falstad. The Haka's already heading top. It's a lose-lose situation here, realistically, for CE. They're trying to find something. They're trying to find Arcaner, even if they get him, which it doesn't look like they will.
Look at Thero. If 365 needs to, oh my goodness, if he steps in the wrong position there or maybe over the wrong kind of mine, that's going to be a one-shot. You see him just sharking, waiting for it. Falstad was threatened off of that bottom shots, but Dahaka secured enough atop to be able to threaten off that keep.
It's just so impressive to see Arcaner on this tank roll just totally shut down CE. They couldn't do anything top or bottom.
Look at him. It's just, it's so scary. I'm terrified for 365. Playing the Malfurion in this, like you're just like, oh, not me. Granted, I never played into the Valera, but the Zeratul, you know, you're just like, oh, not me, not me. Where is he going to be? Somebody find him here.
Well, with the Abathur hat here, you know, it feels even more terrifying with the Valera. He's
Somebody's
checking.
gonna do it.
He's checking. Oh, no.
Good night, my sweet prince.
Well, KTY is the closest target. Thero pings.
He was able to be scouted when there were multiple members within lethal range, so definitely smart to see a Thero back out there in that type of situation. But if KTY, you see him take that step left a little bit more for free, gonna pull the trigger. Boss will be picked up.
They grab the boss, but with the mule here, I just don't think it matters that much. I mean, Dahaka's pushing the keep.
And so when you're asking, what do you do to be able to deal with this? This keep is dead. There's no answer to it. Even if you try and make anything happen in the middle lane, or if Method makes something happen in the middle lane, I think CE has to all in the game here. To be honest, on the bottom half of the map with this boss. Granted, it doesn't have to be all in core, but you need to be looking to end this game. Like, take the initiation before the 20 spike hits, try and use the boss advantage here. So there's a lot of wind. I feel like this has got to be like an into the fray Sundering play or something of the like.
It's got to be a huge combo. It's going to be tough. Dahaka's on the core. He can come back anytime.
They can't back out of this.
They cannot back out.
And the clear flank.
They're about to have 20. As you say, Thero is flanking behind 365. He's going to be the target. Needs to be careful about his positioning. He's staying up with his team. Thero just trying to sneak his way over, not be spotted. The keep is going down quickly. Core under attack, but again, this is all about CE winning a fight here. 20 on the cusp here. Method about to grab it. Here comes the Riptire to start the fight.
Oh man, the back attempt is now going to be started by Dahaka. Moving up here onto the core. Not going to get any shield damage done yet. Dahaka ends up making it back.
A big call here. They're going to use the wind tunnel here. Silence coming through. 365 uses the ice block, but he's still blown up here. CE caught in a rough position. Wind peeling a lot, but he's going to get taken out here, and it looks like this core call is going to get shut down. Great call here by Nick to pull out the wind tunnel, and they shut it down hard. The only chance CE had, but 20 gets in at the worst possible moment for CE. There's the wipe, and that's very likely just simply going to be Method walking down the red carpet to victory to take a 2-0.
I will say this. You know, I said that they had to go in towards the core, and I said, well, maybe not all the core, look for a couple of picks first. But on that note, even though we saw CE all in commit, I am more proud of the fact that they did not back to that Dahaka, because there was no individual lethal threat except outside of a clone potential, and even then, your race potential should be greater in that. And it was a dire situation. It was well played from beginning in on the side of Method. But I like the fact that CE identified it and said, this is it, we got to try and make something happen. And though it didn't work out, it was, again, probably the best opportunity available. And with that, Method take another victory here and earn themselves 3 points over CE.
And my biggest two takeaways from this are Method are back, they're hungry, they've come with good game plans, and I think for the rest of this tournament, we all have to be aware. Valera is out there, this composition is viable. If executed correctly, it is very difficult to play against. And sure, it was a little bit of a late draft here, and it was a little bit of a surprise, sure, to the members of CE. But now this is no longer a secret. Everyone has seen it. Will it be as effective again? We're going to have to wait and find out.
And I think one of the wildest things about this concept, ladies and gentlemen, is that if you're like, oh, you know, I've never seen a Valera, probably going to be the last time. I really don't think that's going to be the case. I think you're going to see it kind of salt and peppered all throughout the MSB here. So it's going to be wild to see how this unfolds. This meta is obviously not agreed upon yet, but it is going to be trying to shape here as we move through the MSB, and I'm really excited to see, you know, which one really comes out on top.
I'm very excited as well to hear what the desk had to say about that second game, that Valera game, so let's throw it back to the desk.
That's right, good stuff on Sky Temple. Big kicks coming out from Method there in game number 2. And, you know, Skimmy, we were sat just watching that game. It felt like Method ran rings around them.
I mean, they really did. They had every single answer. The amount of globals they had to start off with, and just the fact that they had the lightning rod build on the Falstad, the ability to bribe, the ability to really counter what any melee assassin can achieve. The trade-off is you can't wave clear as quickly as you would otherwise, but if you have that 1v1 potential where you are going to get ganked upon, you are much safer. And we know we saw Fira, you know, the hat was on him and he was just picking off kills left, right, and center. It was disgusting. He was having a field day. He was loving it, and that's the kind of hero that Mafira really shines on.
Felt like a bird trap spider, kind of just setting up little traps here, there, and everywhere, and laying in wait. And whenever anybody walked past, even a Garrosh kind of got close slightly.
Yeah.
deleted.
You know what I find very interesting now in looking at both Fnatic and Method, because we've drawn some similarities between the two teams. We know that they're going to have roster swaps moving forward, is the fact that they're approaching these matches with two different mindsets. Fnatic came in and were trying their same synergistic style compositions, executing to a T with their chain crowd control. But for Method, though you could see like it was a well-developed strategy altogether, there's a lot of potential for people to just show up on their own with strong individual micro skills, like the Aethero, Valera, and then even Schwimpy's Genji too.
There's a lot of YOLO involved in the way that they're playing. And I mean, the kill potential on Valera in particular was fantastic, but it's also the attention that she demanded. We saw at one point Valera trying to get a kill at the top, and then 4 men ganked on her. And they got the kill. The problem is that in the meantime, you have a Dehaka and a Falstad pushing the remaining lanes. All of a sudden, you have a keep missing.
It's like
total distraction.
It's like a double benefit to Method, really, because you've got all the globals, and they have no globals to react to a Valera that's going to win out on that solo 1v1 situation. But let's take a look at the top 3 players, of course. There were plenty to check out. As let's see what we've got in store for you at home.
I bet I know what number 1's going to be. Stay a while.
Oh, Wind Tunnel.
All right.
Yeah, that was just a brutal setup. I mean, that was the cleanup job after 20 is hit. And Aethero is having a lot of fun there with Valera, cleaning one after another. So that was the end for CE. Yeah, but I think the approach that they had there, trying to make that push happen, was actually the correct decision for sure.
Yeah, they had things down to the wire. Oh man, and there it is. Lot of focus.
Get off!
Wind finally got to go into Indomitable, but it was far too late by then.
And number 1.
It has to be it.
Hey.
It's the one we highlighted before, but once again, it just really emphasizes, positioning as a whole, whatever your role be, and this is the first time we actually get to see Deca Kane, his ability, his wombo combo setup potential with Stay a While and Listen, and it was executed to a T. So just like the Valera, I expect to see a lot more Deca Kane as the days unfold.
And to be honest, one of the best X strikes I've seen in a while, because nobody's moving, so of course you can hit it. But anyway, let's head over to Heku now, who is ready with an interview.
Thank you, James. Right now, I'm joined by Aethero from Method. Before I ask you about the second game, yesterday you mentioned that Nick has problems seeing ball stunts, right? Did you feel relieved when your opponents decide to go for Towers of Doom?
For sure. I think the problem right now is there's a bunch of games in scrims where he just like gets boss stunned, and we're like, why did we lose that team fight? And it's just like, oh, Nick got boss stunned again. So yeah, big relief, big relief.
Okay, good. And now, of course, about the second game. You had 3 globals, you didn't have a support, and you had a Valera. How does it feel to win versus China with a cheese comp?
It feels pretty good. It feels good for me because I get to play Valera, one of my favorite heroes, at least right now. And I think for the Abathur thing, it's kind of, a lot of the supports are really bad right now. So we're just like, Kirsten's like, okay, I just want to play Abathur because every other support's bad. So we just pick him Abathur and see what happens.
Okay, and right now we'll have Tempo Storm versus Ballistics, but afterwards, you're playing versus Dignitas. Do you have something special prepared for them too?
We have some things, but like we always have to see like which team are we going to be practicing the cheese against. That is normally Dignitas, and if it works against them, then it works against a lot of teams. So they'll know a lot of what we do, but we have some things, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. Now we can go and relax. Hey, analysis desk, are you ready for more cheese?
Oh, maybe, especially when Aethero is involved, I suppose. Thank you very much, of course, as he's going to wander on off now. And realistically speaking, it's nice to hear from Aethero, and obviously he's getting to enjoy being able to play things like Valera. And he's always been a player that enjoys being kind of off on his own, solo, and having all the onus on his ability to execute.
Yeah, and having him be able to even flex onto that because of the role swap too has been beneficial there. And when you look at things like Schwimpy being flexible enough that he can play something like a Dehaka, then when they have Maiev, Schwimpy can play the solo and he gets to play Maiev. So in general, it does feel like the change of having Arcaner be tank has worked out well just for the mentality of all these members.
I mean, Ethereal for the longest time has also been trying to bring Alarak back on, seeing if he fits in the meta. So he has a lot of heroes that he plays where he experiments, sees how they fit, but he's very aware that there are only certain situations where he can really gain value through those heroes.
Yeah, yeah.
So the Alarak example is probably the best one, because for months and months and months he wanted to play Alarak and it never really fit, and so it was just like, okay, well then we don't play it. But if there's an opportunity, he will bring those heroes out and surprise an opponent.
Yeah, it's not Trixler level, it's not Gazgod every day, all day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Trixler's very much like set on these heroes, which is definitely a problem. We're working on that. We are having therapy for it. I'm doing my best on that front, but yeah, with Ethereal it's a little bit different.
I understand your struggle. There you go. Let's check in with the schedule, of course, and see exactly where we are right now. And we only have 2 more series to go, with Method taking that 2-0 victory over CE. And it's some good series coming up, let's be honest. Tempo Storm's going to go up against Ballistics, and Team Dignitas is going to go up against Method. And whilst we were not on camera, Gillyweed was dancing. I'm calling her out.
Oh, yes.
That's right.
Yes, I sure was. I cannot wait to see Tempo Storm versus Ballistics. I feel like though Tempo Storm has had some struggles here and there, they've still been ramping up through Part 2, guys. I do feel like this is the #1 representative from NA, though Heroes Hearth put on a show earlier in our first match. But Ballistics, they tend to ramp up the further LAN goes on. But we're still at the beginning stages for them, and they had a lot of troubles through Part 2, so I'm not counting Tempo Storm out here. I'm not counting out an NA victory over Korea.
This is the reason you're hopeful.
No, the reason is like Tempo Storm can't lose because Glorong just got a double good luck hug from the 2 of us. So
You're not supposed to share this. We're unbiased.
Was that a secret?
I'm off the desk, so it's fine.
Well, let's be honest. On this side, you got 2 gingers, and Glorong betrayed our race. All right, he's the faux ginger, so absolutely no, we don't care. Let's check in with the groups as well, of course, as we can see the standings so far, because we've had Group B round out with everybody having already played a game so far, and not some of the results they're kind of expected to come in, but there we are, full 2-0s across the board, no 1-1s, no ties thus far. And now we're going to finish up with the remaining 2 teams that are going to be playing with, that Tempo Storm and Ballistics. And then, of course, we have 1 more match, Skimmy. But this is going to be a good one, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Korea looked really, really strong so far with Gen G, and I believe the gap between them and Ballistics has always been quite close, and it's been quite close quite recently. But Tempo Storm, the amount of praise that a lot of these teams outside of NA have actually been giving them is quite encouraging. We talk about the sort of narrative about, China, where they're going to go, how good are they going to be, but the same, once again, is monotonous as it may sound, is going to apply here for North America. And even Dread was saying, I feel like this Tempo Storm here is one of the strongest since at least I was playing when NA were so prevalent. So there's a lot of hope, there's a lot of ability, and with a blue background like this, maybe that is Tempo Storm's colors.
Maybe. It's 2 teams of all-stars from their respective regions that are going to be going head-to-head in a few moments' time. Thank you very much for tuning in for the MSB so far. We're going to go to a short break, and when we return, it's more HGC.